Okay, cool. So to start off, I'm Andy, and this is Lauren, and we are the co-founders of Incredibli. Tonight we just want to kind of cover off a few things. We're aware that a few of you guys might, we haven't met all of you guys yet, so we'd like to introduce ourselves, so you guys can get to know us a bit better. We'd also like to talk a bit about Incredibli and what our startup is. And also hopefully give you a bit of an insight as to the highs and lows of starting a tech startup straight out of university and being non-technical founders as well. So first things first, what is Incredibli? So Incredibli is a way to collect money from the people you know. So for those of you that have ever organised things that involve collecting money from groups of people, I'm sure you can all kind of sympathise that it's a pain. And it can prove a real challenge. Effectively, there are four key problems that we've identified. So the first is that it's very time consuming. The second is that it can be really difficult to communicate with everybody that you need to invite. The fourth is that often it's difficult to get people to pay on time. And lastly, there's always a risk that you can end up out of pocket, especially if people don't pay on time and then you're left up footing the bill. Our story was when we were at university. We organised a ball for the Norwich Business School at UEA, and we had to get a minimum of 180 people to come. Now that was a bit of a tough task, and we ended up doing it by collecting £35, which was the cost of a ticket, by sitting in the student union and collecting all of the money by hand. So that was an absolute nightmare for us. And we said at the time, there's got to be a better way of doing things, and didn't think too much more of it. Then when we came to graduate back in July, we put our heads together for some startup ideas. And that was when we revisited the situation that we had when we were organising the ball, and we definitely thought there was something around that. So as I said, Lauren and I were at the University of East Anglia. We did our 3 years there studying business management, and thoroughly enjoyed it. And then when it came to our final year, we were looking at graduate jobs, and we were thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? There's decent graduate scheme is by far the only way forwards. We need to make sure that we're getting all our job applications done, and what on earth are we going to do? And it was kind of a bit of a panic that set in, and until we went to an event called Launch 48, which is a weekend hackathon where you build the foundations of a tech startup. And after that weekend, we came away, we were like, this is cool. And we basically decided that we were going to scrap all the applications, forget about the grad scheme, and let's do our own thing after university, and let's do our own startup. So that was how it came about. So how does Incredibli work? Well, it's basically kind of, the way we see it is like it's a crossover between Just Giving and crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is obviously where you pitch a business and you receive investments from a large crowd. And Just Giving, for those of you, I'm sure you're all aware, is the charity-based model where you start up a campaign and you collect money again from a group of people for a charitable cause. In our case, what we're doing is we're kind of sticking ourselves slap bang in the middle and making it for personal causes. So Incredibli can be used for organising your group holidays, your events. It could be that a group of you are chipping in to buy somebody a group present, or great for organising things like stag do's, hen parties, possibly even wedding lists. Anything that really kind of empowers a group of people to come together and all chip in and towards a common goal. We effectively want to kind of eliminate the problem when people say, wouldn't it be cool to go out and do this? And but then nobody wants to be the first person to step up and say, okay, yeah, I'll do the organising, I'll do the collecting the money, and then all those kinds of problems arise. So Incredibli is quite simple. You set up a campaign with all the necessary details. So you type in a description, you have a title, you have a target amount to reach. You can then invite the people that you know and that you think would like to contribute or you'd like to invite via social media and email. And then you can see the funds raised when people come onto the site. They will receive a private link to the campaign, and they can all contribute, and you can easily see who's contributed, how much they've paid, and how close you are to your target. So it's all in one easy place. And in our example, when we were organising the ball, it was keeping spreadsheets, it was organising, having long lists of people, who's paid, how much, dealing with all the cash. And the great thing about our site is, once the campaign's up there, you can see everything all in one simple, easy to digest page. So I'll pass over to Lauren, and she can do a quick demonstration and take you through the rest.
Okay, so I'm going to do a live demo. Now I've just broken part of our site as I tried to load it, so you're going to have to really bear with me because this is actually the first live demo we've done. So we launched our... Right, so we launched our beta test on the 7th of November. We did a soft launch because we built the site ourselves on WordPress, and we, as Andy mentioned before, neither of us actually have any technical skills. So I helped to develop the site with some help from people such as Chris, which we were very grateful for. And it's built from a plugin and a theme based around crowdfunding. Obviously, we had to adapt it a little bit for our model to make sure everything was private and to make sure the campaigns worked how we wanted to. So I can't show you the homepage because for whatever reason I can't actually get to it. So, but I will show you around. So what we decided to do is just show featured campaigns, how it works, so it gets people a feel of what the site is like, what it can be used for, and how a campaign runs. So we've done 2 example campaigns. One of them is a yacht party for New Year, which we would quite happily run if we could, but obviously it's just a virtual campaign at the moment, and a Christmas trip to Prague. So they just work, as Andy explained, that you just set up your campaign. It's really simple. You have your description, you have how fully funded it is. It's not coming up very well because you're not meant to have the banner down the side, but since I've messed it up already anyway, I don't think it matters. You have your target, how many people are funded, you have your information. Oh god. I'm making a right mess of this. It's because I use a Mac. I'm going to use that as my excuse. I don't use Windows ever. So you have all your information, you have your updates, and you have your community. So you can discuss with people who's contributed. You can name and shame effectively. So if you're going on a group holiday and one of your friends just hasn't paid and it's completely irritating, you can sit on your community and see who's paid and say, you haven't paid. If you want to go and we all want to go ahead, then take a look. So okay, so as I said, it's built on WordPress, so the campaigns are private, they're between 1 and 30 days. We send out reminder emails to avoid those awkward conversations of asking people for money, which is always a bit uncomfortable. So it's quite a polite way of saying, your friends set up this campaign, we know you'd probably want to go on holiday with them, so if you donate, you'll be able to go. It shows who's donated, there's a forum, as I mentioned before, and it works on an all or nothing and keep all model. So some of the other competitors overseas work on simply an all or nothing model, but the problem we discovered with that was the fact that if you're organising something like a leaving present, if one person doesn't contribute and you're off your target, but you still want to be able to buy that present, you don't get the money. So we introduced an option where we can advise and they can suggest whether they'd like the keep all model, obviously subject to a minimum raise. There's no point giving up £10 of a £1,000 target because that's just unrealistic. So based on that we do it sort of on a case-by-case basis. The majority of them are all or nothing, but then if it is something such as a leaving present, it would be open to keep all. So what are our highlights? So I'll go over our lowlights and our issues in a minute, but so we started in August. And since then, we've obviously, as I said, we launched a beta, did a bit of a demo. It's usually better than that. That's actually the homepage, so you can see it a bit nicer. We qualified for the semi-finals of the Varsity Pitch, which is a national association of college university entrepreneurs. And we also qualified for the finals of the One competition, which is an East Anglian Daily Times competition. We've been approached to apply for Startup Wise Guys, which is an acceleration in Estonia. So we're quite excited about that. And we're also currently on a Stanford University course for startup boards. So that allows us to work with different professionals and other startups around the world to advise, for them to help us on our problems and for them to help us see how we can move forward. So that's quite interesting for us. So we're working with people from Russia, Spain, Silicon Valley, various places. So it's quite interesting to get a different perspective, because I think sometimes we get quite closed-minded on what we think we should do, and it's not always the right thing. And we've just been accepted for a final interview for Student Upstarts, which is another graduate accelerator. But in terms of issues, we have many. So one of our key things at the moment is build, buy or license. And I know a lot of you guys here are techies, and you'll probably be able to advise us on this very well. So we've been struggling with whether we're not going to live on the beta site in WordPress forever. It's just not going to hold the kind of traffic that we want, and it doesn't have the functionality that we need. So initially we were looking towards licensing it from a crowdfunding company, but obviously the issues with that are, as you all know, we don't own the code, and whatever happens to the company could affect us. So the next option was to buy, to go to an agency, but again it's a similar sort of issue. So it's build, and developers are like gold dust, as we have been finding out quite readily now. So I guess for us that's our biggest issue at the moment, but prior to that it was the technology issue. So I think we walked in very blind, believing that we had an amazing idea and someone would invest and then we could just buy the technology and it'll all be wonderful, and unfortunately that's not how it works. So one of us had to learn it, and it was me, and we got it there, and I think it'll fly for the moment, but it's not going to take off on the very basic legs that it's standing on, so we need something to move forward. So I guess from that perspective for us, and this is what we want to round off on, and we want your question and answers, but at the end we'd love to chat to some of you guys about this issue that we've got at the moment, get your opinions and hear what your perspectives are, because we have had a lot of differing opinions on what's the best avenue for us to take. The technology isn't anything wildly new, it's just adapting a technology that already exists. So yeah, I guess that's it. So